What does context of an organisation mean? And what is the purpose of it?
Context of the organisation is the driving force behind it, the why, as opposed to the what. It identifies what the organisation is trying to achieve, where it's trying to go, and sets the roadmap for the plan, and everything else hangs off it. Understanding the issues that are going to impact on achieving that goal, and setting your actions around that. It should identify the reasons why you're undertaking certifications, why you're undertaking this process, because if the context of the organisation doesn't require you to maintain some sort of certification, the question is, what's the point?
So one of the key things I say to customers and clients when they ask that type of question is I tell them to make it quite simple. Simply, what is it that you do as an organisation, as a business unit? Understand what your context is in terms of what you do within those four walls within that organisation. And also very importantly is understand how other influencing factors can impact on your business and what you do. So changes in legal requirements, etc., etc. In terms of how an organisation presents that, I think they have a multitude of ways of doing it, but I go back to the simple term. Just don't read into the terminology context, just simply explain what it is that you do as a business.
So the context is something that I think was introduced in 2015, and it's something that a lot of businesses sort of do, but they don't really get that they do. So it's all about thinking about where your organisation fits, both what are the external influences that are going to impact on your organisation, as well as the internal factors which might have both a risk or an opportunity. All the things like, for example, COVID and local events and local economics and those sorts of things that might potentially have an impact on your system. And it's sort of putting those all into a big picture and thinking about where you sit really in that space.
So in a nutshell for me, the context of the organisation is all the external and internal influences that affect it. And it's how they present themselves. Now these things can be all sorts of things. They can be the products, how complex they are that you make. They can be policies and procedures that you've got already in place. They can also be political, they can be legislative, they can be all those sort of things that actually provide influence to the business and need to be taken into account.
So when we talk about the context of the organisation, we need to understand what has influenced the businesses, to really understand the business, and this sets the framework for the development of the management system. If we really are going to understand risks and opportunities to the business, we need to understand where it's come from historically, what are the legacy issues, what influences the business historically, what is the current situation or the current state of affairs, and also where is it going in the future? What are the expansion opportunities? Because all of those are going to influence the business. On top of that, we're asked to look at the internal and external issues. Now, why are those so important? Is that if we're going to do an effective risk assessment, if we're going to develop effective processes, we need to understand what some of the exposures are inside and outside of the business. So from an external perspective, we need to consider the region, the politics, the culture outside of the business, where they're located. Internally, we need to have a look at all their activities, products, services, substances, plant and equipment, because all of those we need to understand comprehensively what is involved in this business to be able to develop the management system.
When I also talk about understanding the context of the organisation, what it's saying is you need to understand the issues and the risks that could impact your business and your QMS from both inside and outside the organisation. And you also need to do that from both a positive and a negative way. So not all risks are negative. Some risks are positive. If you win a new order, the risk is that you're going to need more staff, you're going to need more equipment, more materials, and you need to understand those risks. So it's about thinking about things like that. Ideally, you want to also think about how you're going to mitigate or prevent the risks impacting your QMS and, of course, your business, and how you need to do that. So you need to think about both internal and external factors. You need to think about what things are going to impact the customer experience and the customer satisfaction, your ability to deliver to the product from an external point of view, and that might be regulatory bodies, it might be market conditions, it could be technology, it could be raw material supply or people. And internal factors, you need to think about those as well. So you need to think about what would stop you achieving those QMS objectives, what's going to limit your growth. Could be something to do with government, could be relationships, could be key people in your organisation who are getting to maybe a retirement age, or you could be looking at leaving, and all of those things. So you need to be considering all of those to really understand the context of your organisation. So it's really about understanding what the forces are that are acting on your business.
And standards call for you to define the context. What they're looking for is for you to define who you are, what you do, where you do it, how you do it. So for instance, Mango Limited is a company that specialises in the design, development and provision of cloud-based compliance software. The company is based in New Zealand, servicing English-speaking countries around the globe and working through a network of partners.
If you enjoyed this video, click on the link to view the next compliance conversation.